is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Tinted Visors podcast, episode 28. Coming at you guys with a big episode. We are going to recap the conference finals. We're going to recap round 3, see what happened, and then we are going to preview the Stanley Cup Finals. Going to end things off with trivia, but we got a big episode for you guys. Lots of content. Let's get into it.
Gun you down, oh you know she wild inside emoji, oh you got a friend.
But first things first, let's get card of the day out of the way first. Sticking with the finals, we are going to go with just a simple card, just a Young Guns, and we're going to go with Carter Verhaeghe. Of course, back on his time with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Did lift the cup with them in 2020, so he's looking to get his second of his career. Big piece for Florida, and he's going to have to be a big performer for them if they want to capture their first franchise cup. But simple design. I like the coloring, just white and blue. Super simple. Quinn Hughes, same year. Jack Hughes. A lot of those cards are just really nice. Not too much value here for Verhaeghe. Still sort of underrated. You can get his cards for pretty cheap, but that's my card of the day. And we'll see how he can perform in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah, sweet card. The blue design of the Young Gun matches the Tampa jersey nicely. And, a lot of people kind of forget that Verhaeghe spent some time with the Lightning, kind of almost forgettable, has flourished into a much bigger role with Florida. Hoping for a great finals performance from him. And I'm going to be rolling with the Cats as well for my card of the day. We have a little more recent. We have an Anton Lundell, Young Gun, still a young center, looking to be the next Finnish center for the Panthers. Sweet player, love his game, is part of that third line who forechecks really hard, forces turnovers on the other team. So hoping for a big finals from him. I believe he only has 1 or 2 goals this playoff run, so hoping he can pot a few more in this series.
Yeah, one of the better picks of the 2020 draft. Kind of a boring card, though, that year with the Young Guns, just sort of that black and gray. Didn't really like it, but it's a good card, and we'll see how both those guys can perform in the finals. So like we said, the matchup is set. It is the Edmonton Oilers against the Florida Panthers. The Oilers trying to capture their first cup since 1990. And hoping to be the first Canadian team to do so in a long time. And Florida is looking to win their first cup in franchise history after losing in both 96 and last year. So they're coming back with some vengeance, with a little chip on their shoulder. But before we get into the series, we're going to recap round 3. We'll start in the East. Caden, the Rangers, they went 7-0 to start the playoffs. Finished off going, I believe it was 3-6. Not a great performance for them to end it out. What went wrong? What went right, if anything? And what can you see for this team going forward?
Yeah, honestly, it just kind of looked like this Ranger team kind of fell flat on their face. The depth didn't really show up, and to be honest, neither did the star players. Artemi Panarin had a very quiet series against the Panthers, and quite honestly, throughout the whole series, the Panthers just looked like the team that wanted it more. They were outplaying the Rangers in the majority of the games, absolutely peppering Igor with shots. Props to Igor, he really stepped up in this series, but it was not enough to pull this Ranger team into the finals.
Yeah, you hit it all right on the head. All three, Panarin, Zibanejad, and Kreider, all had a very quiet series. Like you said, Igor stood on his head. In the 4 losses he had against the Florida Panthers, the lowest save percentage was a .925. So you can't really ask for more than that from your goaltender. So he was trying to backstop them. He was trying to carry them. Just the forwards couldn't outscore the Panthers, and that's what it came down to. Some disappointing playoffs for the Rangers decor. Fox only had 8 points, Trouba with 7, Miller with 4. A few depth guys, like you mentioned, just didn't perform. Kakko and Wenberg only had 2 points each. Wenberg obviously had that overtime winner, but it's just not enough from your third, fourth line guys. You want a little bit more production, and they fall short again. In the Eastern Conference Finals. Caden, do you think they can run it back? Do you think they can go deeper next year?
Yeah, I do have confidence in this core itself. I just think management has to do a better job at the deadline, acquiring what the team needs. The team needed a right shot, right winger to kind of bolster that top 6. And then they went out and got Wenberg, who, like you said, had a very quiet playoff series and, run. So I think management kind of failed the group of players here. This is a President Trophy winning team. I think they can most definitely run this back. Depending on how much money Igor wants for an extension, it's going to be tough. So I think they have no choice but to run it back next year and hope for slightly better results.
Yeah, I mean, their window is now. I have a hard time seeing the exact same team come back. Just with a lot of RFAs, like guys like Braden Schneider, Ryan Lindgren, Pablo Kakko as well. I believe they're going to trade Kakko. But to re-sign those guys, they only have $11 million. You might look at a guy like Zibanejad with an $8 million cap hit, or a guy like Jacob Trouba, again, with an $8 million cap hit. Maybe move those guys out because you need to make some money, need to make some space for the RFAs. And like you said, Shesterkin was going to look for an extension the year after.
So my question to you, Kenny, it's a bit of an off-season question, but with cap permitting, if you were the Rangers GM, would you be willing to part ways with your A-tier prospects like Brennan Othman, like Gabe Perreault, to help this roster now to put them in more of a win now position?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty big possibility. I would be a little more hesitant on a guy like Gabe Perreault. I think he had a very good D+1 year. So maybe a guy like Othman could be on the move. He has played a couple games, but he hasn't really found his stride in the NHL. But first, I would look to see what you can get for a guy like Capo Caco. I think there is still some value there. Maybe attach a pick to him and see if you can bring in a guy who is sort of in their prime and actually performing consistently. So I would start with Kako, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do move on from some more B-level prospects. I would keep Perot for sure. But we could see a lot of trades coming to New York. On the flip side of the Eastern Conference Finals, we have the Florida Panthers coming out on top with 3 straight wins to close out the series. Something I was willing to bring up was I picked the Rangers, Caden picked the Florida Panthers, so Caden came out on that one. Caden, give me a rundown. What do you think went well for the Florida Panthers? How did they overcome a very strong team in the Rangers?
Yeah, I think it really just comes down to their game plan is sticking to the system, and that's hard forecheck, play a very physical brand of hockey, and just put pucks on net, and that's really what they did all series long. Everybody showed up, all 4 lines were moving. It was great. The forecheck, as always, was awesome. Going up against that lackluster Ranger defense that had been struggling these playoffs, I think that forecheck really got to the Rangers, and Florida's able to move on in 6.
Yeah, just a great performance all around. The big boys really showed up in Kachuk, Barkov, and Verhage. Some guys who I think still need to step up. Oliver Ekman-Larsson only has 4 points, and Ekblad only has 5 points. They are defensemen, but you would expect a little more offensive production from them. Someone who is sort of bailing them out right now is Gustav Forsling. He's got 11 points in 17 games so far, and he's a team leading plus 11. He's such a great player for them and proving to be one of the best waiver pickups in recent years. Bobrovsky has been lights out. He is showing signs of last year's playoff Bobrovsky. Apart from game 3, had a rough game then, but every other game, he just completely shut out the Rangers.
Yeah, and before the series started, we touched on how we thought that the goalies would play a massive part in this series, and they did. You can't really say Bobrovsky outplayed Igor, even though he's moving on, but Bobrovsky really stepped up, played at Igor's level definitely, and is a big reason why the Panthers are moving on to the finals. All right, so just before we move on to the west side, Kenny, let's go back to the Ranger big boys, having a very quiet series. Do you think you can accredit any of that to Alexander Barkov, the Selke winner on the Panthers?
Yeah, and I think he was a big part in shutting down those top players. But then again, those are 2 lines worth of players, and he can only be matched up against one. And that's when you need a guy like Anton Lundell or even a guy like Sam Bennett. Those 2 lines, those 2 centermen are great shutdown guys as well. So I think they stepped up when Barkov wasn't able to be matched up against the Trocheck line or the Zibanejad line because he can only be on the ice for so long. So while he did have a very good series, I don't want to discredit anything to him. I think he had a lot of help from a lot of other great defensive forwards and a great decor as well in Florida.
Flipping over to the West, we have a slight upset with the Edmonton Oilers moving on in 6 games. Kenny, what happened this series that led to the Oilers moving on?
Yeah, so we both picked Dallas, so there's no winner here. We both lost, unlike the East. Dallas, they had a pretty good playoff run. A lot of great guys like Johnson, Heiskanen, and Robertson, each 16 points in 19 games. I think as deep as a team that this was on paper, I think a lot of their depth didn't really show up, especially in this series. Joe Pavelski, as good as he was in the regular season and as good as he is as a leader, only 4 points in the whole 19-game playoffs. Thomas Harley had a great breakout year. Again, only 4 points in the 19 games. It's not stuff you want to see from guys who really should be leading the offense. Ottinger, I think he sort of burned out in those last 3 games, all below 900 save percentage, and they were all losses as Edmonton cleaned up 3 straight to close out the series. So I think both, the depth and the goaltending hurt Dallas in the end.
Yeah, for sure. And you look at that game 6 win from the Oilers, they had 10 shots on goal. winning the game 2-1. It's just tough for Dallas. That's my preseason cup pick right there. So both of us are done now. But yeah, Edmonton's PK really stepped up in a big way. Dallas had 0 power play goals for the whole series. Their playoff power play percentage hovered around 20%. So, going a whole series ice cold is pretty unheard of, to be honest, especially with the star power on the Stars and, the depth we talked about it. But they have enough depth up front to run, two very solid power play units. So it's a pretty disappointing end to the Stars season, who had cup aspirations. But yeah, props to the Oilers for a very hard fought series, and they'll be moving on to the finals.
Yeah, and I think the loss is just even worse with today being announced that Joe Pavelski is looking to retire. Obviously, they had a lot of veterans on that team, like Jamie Benn, Ryan Suter, even Tyler Sagan's becoming a veteran now. So it would have been great to see all those guys lift a cup. And who knows? They could be back with the guys like Jamie Benn and Ryan Suter, but most likely Joe Pavelski is done, going down as one of the best draft steals in NHL history, up with the likes of guys like Pavel Datsyuk. So it just makes the loss hurt even more for Dallas Stars and for NHL fans as a whole. I think I'm not even a Dallas Stars fan, and I really wanted to see Joe Pavelski win. Just a great player, great leader, and hearing all the stories about him and Wyatt Johnson, it's pretty wholesome. So
Yeah, Little Joe, as he was known in San Jose, stand up guy, class act. It's really hard to hate him. So yeah, it's a huge loss for the NHL as a whole, and it speaks volumes to his character when guys like Jamie Benn, Wyatt Johnson are asked about him post game, and they were asked what he's meant to this team, and they're pretty close to tearing up, getting emotional. Speaks volumes to Pavelski's character, and this is gonna hurt guys like Stan Coven and Wyatt Johnson quite a bit, because Pavelski really took those guys under his wing, welcomed them into his home like family. So yeah, huge loss for the Stars, but I hope Joe has a happy retirement.
not official yet. So maybe there is a chance he comes back. I think if he does, Jim Nill would be happy to offer him a contract. But on the bright side, with him, moving on, and then I personally would let Matt Duchene walk to free up space for guys like Wyatt Johnson and Logan Stankoven to take that next step in the Dallas roster. Even a guy like Maverick Bork, who got thrown in Game 6, just such an unfortunate situation for him. But AHL MVP, with those older guys moving on, it gives them room to grow. And I think this Dallas team, while they are good right now, they will be good 5, 10 years down the line with these guys all on the team. Going to the flip side again, we have the Edmonton Oilers, the newly named Canada's team. They are moving on to the Stanley Cup Finals for the first time since 2006. They are the first Canadian team since 2021 when Montreal made it, and first Western Canadian team since your Vancouver Canucks in 2011. But similar story to all 2 rounds before that. It is the big boys stepping up. McDavid with 31 points now on the playoffs. Draisaitl with 28 and Bouchard 27. Interestingly enough, it is the longest tenured player, Nugent Hopkins, who's got 20 points on the playoffs so far, and he had a monstrous Game 5 for the Oilers, who basically carried them to a win to take a 3-2 series lead on Dallas. Some depth guys who need to step up. Ryan McLeod's only got the 1 goal so far in the playoffs, and Darnell Nurse only 3 points. He took a lot of heat. I don't think he had a terrible series, but again, with only 3 points and that $9 million cap hit, you want a little bit more production offensively from a guy like Darnell Nurse, who is capable of that. Skinner, who took a lot of heat, ended up with a above 900 save percentage in 5 of the 6 games, really stepping up ever since being replaced by Pickard. Ever since that Canucks series, he has really been the backbone of the Oilers.
Yeah, touch on Skinner. He's stepping up in a big way. Just seeing how he started, this season and these playoffs, he's stepping out huge for the Oilers and just showing that all the Oilers need is just a serviceable goalie in net, and they can make a run, which is exactly what they're doing. And the unsung hero is their penalty kill. Yeah, they, like we said about Dallas, they did not allow a power play goal. They went perfect this round. Could partially be accredited to, Dallas's power play going cold. But when a penalty kill kills off every single penalty in an entire series, you have to tip your cap. And those are big reasons why the Oilers are moving on to the finals.
And now the time we've been waiting for the entire year. We are at the Stanley Cup Finals preview. It is Oil Country against the Sunshine State. It is McDavid against Barkov, Skinner against Bobrovsky. We have the Edmonton Oilers coming up against the Florida Panthers, who are coming back to the Stanley Cup Finals, just 1 year removed. Caden, who is your pick? Do you have Florida or do you got Edmonton bringing home the cup?
I'm gonna have to be rolling cats. Yes, I understand that Edmonton is a Canadian team, but I think I've made it pretty clear that I don't really care if they bring the cup back to Canada. So yeah, I'm gonna be rolling cats. Last series, I wanted to say Dallas in 5, ended up saying Dallas in 6. I think Florida is a much more complete team than Dallas, so I am going to be saying this is gonna be Florida in 5 games. My Conn Smythe pick is going to be Matthew Tkachuk. I think he has a massive series and just becomes the proud new owner of the Edmonton Oilers. And honestly, I think it just really comes down to this defensive center depth. Barkov is most certainly going to be matched up against McDavid and whoever his wingers are. I think he's going to have McDavid in a box. I really think McDavid's going to struggle big time against Barkov. And, Edmonton's depth hasn't really stepped up. And you look at Florida, you've mentioned their centers. They are 3 centers deep who all play a very defensive brand of hockey. Sam Bennett, Anton Lundell, and then, of course, Alexander Barkov. I think the Panthers' forecheck and physicality is just going to get to the Oilers. I don't think they're going to be able to keep up, so give me the Panthers in 5.
Yeah, that's a great pick. I really think there is no wrong answer here. And like you said, Matthew Tkachuk could have a very good series. He is a familiar foe for the Edmonton Oilers from back in his Calgary days in that Battle of Alberta. So he will bring the fire to the series. We wouldn't be a podcast. We didn't have any debate. So I'll take Edmonton. And if I see them winning, I'll think it'd have to be in 7 games. So I'll take Edmonton in 7. Like you said earlier, the penalty kill is just on fire, as well as the power play all playoffs long. So I think they can win that special teams battle. And I think that could be what it comes down to in the playoffs. We have seen sort of a dip in the amount of penalties taken. I think the refs are just letting it play a little bit more than usual. But given the opportunity on the power play, Edmonton can capitalize. And then if they take penalties, they can clearly kill them off. It's interesting. Both case they have a inconsistent sort of goaltender who has been on fire lately, so that'll be interesting to see sort of who faults first. But I think we are in for an amazing series. I'm going to take Edmonton in 7. Caden, you've got Florida in 5. Let's see how this all plays out.
Yeah, I don't agree with the Edmonton in 7, but I will say you forgot one thing. Who is your Conn Smythe winner?
If Edmonton comes out, I think there is really no question. It'll have to be McDavid picking up Conn Smythe along with his first Stanley Cup. I mean, 31 points so far. I could see him, touching 36, 37, maybe even 40 by the end of these playoffs, which would be just an incredible feat. And I think that'll be by far enough to take home the Conn Smythe trophy.
And I did say that I don't care if Edmonton brings the cup back to Canada, but quite honestly, I don't think there is a bad outcome for this cup final. Canada gets the cup back for the first time since '93. McDavid gets his first cup. Draisaitl gets his first cup. And then on the flip side, Florida gets their first cup in franchise history. Vets like Kyle Okposo, Oliver Ekman-Larsson will capture their first cup. So honestly, I really don't think there's a bad outcome, and I am super excited to tune in to this series.
So yeah, guys, that is all we have for the Stanley Cup Finals preview. Let us know what you guys think. Let us know who you guys have coming out on top, whether you are Team Kenny with Edmonton or Team Caden with Florida. But yeah, let us know what you guys think. We are going to move on to trivia now. We're going to go with Stanley Cup Finals themed here, the past 10 Stanley Cup runner-ups.
How many lives?
I'll give you 2.
Okay. So, 2023 Florida Panthers.
That's correct, yeah.
2022. Oh, that's Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah.
2021 Montreal Canadiens.
There you go.
2020 Dallas Stars.
It's 4 for 4, yeah.
2019 Boston Bruins.
Yeah.
2018 Vegas Golden Knights.
There you go. 6 for 6. 4 more.
2017. I'm stuck between 2 teams. It's either the Sharks or the Preds.
Okay.
And because whoever lost to Pittsburgh, I'm gonna say San Jose.
I'll give it to you. It's Nashville and then San Jose, both to Pittsburgh.
2015. Is this the Rangers?
I'll give you. They're in 2014. Yeah.
Chicago won it. Is this the Flyers, Kenny?
The Flyers is 2010.
Oh my god, I'm actually so bad at this. I really don't think it's the Bruins, though. Okay, Boston Bruins.
Boston is 2013. You were looking for the Tampa Bay Lightning again in 2015,
Oh, it was
losing to the
Tampa.
Chicago Blackhawks.
Yeah. My question for you, this is a new one to the pod. It's something we haven't done before. I'm giving you a list of 4 players, and you have to
Okay.
tell me the odd man out. The first player is Zach Werenski. The second
Yeah.
player is William Nylander.
Okay.
The third player is Patrick Laine.
Okay.
And the fourth player is Sean Couturier.
Okay.
Kind of lock it in.
One odd man out, which so that means 3 of them are all in common.
Yeah.
2 of the other 3 are.
They have something that I'm thinking of in common, but it might not be what I'm looking for.
The first thought is they're all 16, 17 young guns. Does that have anything to do with it? Except for Couturier.
Oh, no.
3 forwards and a D, 2 Europeans, Canadian, American. Laine's been traded. The other 3 have been on the same team the whole careers.
Not what I was going for. No.
Okay.
That's a good one though. That is a good one. Do you want the extra player?
The player?
Yeah. Okay. So the next player is Marco Casper. Okay, I can give you another name here. I'll give you another name.
Okay.
This might really help the gears turn. I'm not sure, but
okay, let's hear it.
Ryan Leonard. Okay, I guess this was a hard one.
Well, like, did everyone win World Juniors except one of them?
No, that's not it.
The draft, right? Oh, are they all 8th overall picks except Laine?
That is correct. They are all 8th overall except for Patrick Laine.
Next question for you. Again, sticking with the playoffs themed. We're gonna go with the top 10 active playoff point scorers.
Okay. Joe Pavelski.
He's number 4. Yeah.
Sidney Crosby.
At the number 1. There you go.
Okay. Evgeny Malkin.
At the 2.
Okay. We'll say Ovi.
Ovi's at the 5.
Okay. Steven Stamkos.
Stamkos is 13th.
Oh, it's a bad one.
2 lives left.
Bad miss. Okay. Nicholas Backstrom.
Backstrom's at the 10.
Bang.
He's tied at the 10th. There you go.
Okay. Dude, Claude Giroux.
Claude Giroux is not in the top 10.
That is an awful guess. That is actually an awful guess. Okay. So I have 1 live left. We're looking at big names. Anze Kopitar.
Yeah, big name.
Anze Kopitar.
Anze Kopitar is not on
What?
either. You're looking for
Patrick Kane is one of them.
3.
Who, sorry?
Cooch is at the 3.
Really? And Stammer's not?
Stammer's not. You said Patrick Kane, so I'll give you that. Marchand is at the 6.
Ew, okay.
Kane was at the 7.
Yeah.
Corey Perry's at the 8.
Corey Perry.
Hedman is at the 9, and then McKinnon and Backstrom were tied with the 10.
So then where's McDavid?
McDavid's 11th.
Okay.
He's just outside.
Yeah.
I think he's got 8 points to go.
All right, Kenny. So my last trivia question for you is going to be a guess the player. I feel like it was a little too easy for you last time, so I want to run it back. I have 3 hints for you. So yeah, here we go. The first hint is this player is a former top 5 pick. The second hint is that they have had 1 100-point season in their career. And the third hint is they have a silver medal at the Olympics.
That'd be U.S. in 2010 and Sweden in 2014. The guy in my head is Nicholas Backstrom, but I just used him, so I don't think you would use him.
Right.
Carlson had 100 points, but he wasn't top 5 pick. Sedin's. Danny Sedin? Because I know Henrik didn't go to that. I think there's a few guys that would apply.
Yeah, I'm realizing that now.
I'll go with Daniel Sedin. Is that right?
It's not the player I was thinking of, but he fits the bill.
Yeah. I'll keep going.
Okay.
Is it Nick Backstrom?
It is Nicholas Backstrom. That's unbelievable. I don't think there's a guess the player that I can get you on because I gave you 3 very general hints and you just threw 2 players right back at me.
That wraps things up, guys. Let us know again what you guys think of the episode, and again, give us who you think is going to come out on top of the Stanley Cup Finals.
All I gotta say is I'm 1-0 when Kenny and I pick different teams, so I think you gotta rock with the winning team. Roll Cats.
Maybe we'll get depending on how long the series goes, we could get another episode halfway through, but If not, we'll get one to close out the season and get a recap of the finals. But until then, guys, take care and see you soon.
Gun you down. Oh, you know she wild inside emoji. Oh, you got a friend. Tomato to my haters. Hope you get lost.